It's a joy to have with us this evening Leonardo Defilippis. After years as a Shakespearean actor, Leonardo Defilippis embarked on a spiritual journey that led him to found a Catholic theater company, St. Luke Productions, back in 1980. Millions throughout the United States, Canada, and Europe have seen his work as an actor, as a producer, and film director. His productions have been shown in churches, major theaters, civic centers, penitentiaries, schools, and cloistered convents as well. He also performed at a number of World Youth Days, both in Denver and in Rome as well. His work has inspired vocations to the religious life, and he has won numerous awards over the decades. One of his most ambitious projects was the direction, production, and distribution of the feature film Therese. This was the first motion picture distributed solely by an independent Catholic film company. Leonardo can be heard daily on Benedictus Moments. This is a radio and website based on the profound meditations of Pope Benedict XVI and airs on Catholic radio networks nationwide. He continues to tour with his theater productions, Vianney, and also Maximilian, Saint of Auschwitz, which you performed here just a couple years ago, I believe, in this very building. Since 1980, St. Luke Productions has brought professional theatrical, DVD, and feature-film dramas on the life of Christ and his saints to millions of people throughout the English-speaking world. Leonardo had a dream to present the Gospel of Luke in a very new and dramatic form as a one-man production. And he wrote to Mother Teresa of Calcutta, asking Mother Teresa for her guidance in his newfound apostolate. And through a personal written correspondence back and forth to him, she inspired him with her encouragement. Her mandate, do something beautiful for God. That became the basis for St. Luke Productions, its mission to evangelize and renew culture through theater and media. 42 years later, St. Luke Production, run by Leonardo and his wife, Patti, have evolved into a professional, nonprofit company whose productions have toured the globe. Its televised productions on St. Maximilian Kolbe, St. Francis, St. John of the Cross, and St. Luke have been broadcast internationally and received numerous awards. To date, he has produced 7 inspiring films, 14 audio dramas, and 4 audio rosaries, and continues to have these productions seen by many people across Northern America and Europe. The late Cardinal Francis George had this to say concerning Leonardo. I first met Leonardo and Patti Defilippis while Archbishop of Portland, Oregon. I was impressed with their vision and their understanding of the importance of a Catholic voice within the entertainment industry. Leonardo and Patti are creating a training ground for young artists and restoring the dignity of professional arts through live drama, film, and television. Leonardo is married to his lovely wife, Patti. They were married back in 1983 with 7 children, and they reside in Washington State. And of course, behind every great man, there is a great woman, and Patti is with us tonight. Patti, please, won't you stand up so we can recognize you? Leonardo wrote as follows, and I quote, "When I step out in faith to serve God by doing the impossible, I am constantly astonished at the miracles God works through my inadequate abilities. That has been the story of my life, and I pray that God will continue to find me always willing to do his will." Over the years, Leonardo has been a good friend of the college, and he just shared, "I can remember going to Christendom College in the early 90s to perform. That's nearly 30 years ago. Kathy and I are delighted to know him as a friend for a lifetime of service in bringing the beauty and drama of the Catholic faith in the fine arts. We are pleased to present Christendom College's Fra Angelico Award to Leonardo Defilippis for his excellence in the fine arts in service to the beauty of the Catholic faith." Leonardo, won't you come forward, please?
Thank you so much. What an honor, pleasure to be here. It's kind of strange here. I was here just, as you mentioned, a couple years ago, and I was in my concentration camp outfit. And I also played the devil here, too, besides Saint Maximilian Kolbe. So we've got all the saints and the devil here at the same time in this room. So, I want to thank you. What an honor. Just thinking about Fra Angelico, I know there's a great love here with Dr. Tim, of course, and a lot of you you have your extension in Europe, in Italy, your school there too. And recently, Patti and I just went to Fiesole and Florence. I have a sister in Florence who married an Italian, if any of you are going to do that in your future. And anyway, we went to the beautiful San Marco and et cetera, and saw some of the greatest works of Fra Angelico. So he is an incredible saint, blessed, on the way. Let's pray that another miracle maybe happens right here at Christendom for him, so we can move on the canonization process. But I think, John Paul II declared him as the universal patron of all artists. So I'm honored to have that. We also have St. Luke, we're St. Luke Productions, but he's also the patron saint of arts also because of his painting of the Madonna, of the Christ child and Mary. So, but Fra Angelico, to try to honor him in this honor that's been given to me, is very humbling, but also his sanctity is so important for our day and age, especially for artists. Artists are going through tough times, and I want you to continue to pray for them. We at St. Luke Productions, we have done, I have gone from Shakespeare and a lot of the secular works that we did, had a reconversion, but, I'm always acting like a saint, also acting like a devil, too, because I play the... But, isn't it funny, because all of us, that motto, I have to do it for a living and a ministry to act like all these saints that I've done, whoever it is, from St. Francis to Louis Martin to whoever it is that I'm doing, and yet all of us are called to act like saints. So I love this motto here, dare to be great. I just want to reflect upon that. Christendom is, what a beautiful name. And I don't know how many of you cherish that name, Christendom, and because it's so connected to Christ, to his legacy, to history. And this is an important institution here to carry on the legacy and the respect for the name Christendom. And I want you to really, it's a powerful name. It's a meaning that in some ways has been lost through history, obviously. It's a thing that, it's almost prophetic, the name. It's about all the nations uniting together to worship the one God, to worship Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. And so this is a great challenge for each and every one of you to be great for Christendom, that very name that you have. And I remember, Warren Carroll, I'm thinking back, one of the sayings, I guess he would say, is one man can make a difference. And that's true. One woman, one man can make a difference. One man, one woman can change literally the course of history. Now today, I don't know if you know it, there's a number of feast days today, actually. But this today is also after 3 days after the exaltation of the cross, St. Francis of Assisi receives the stigmata, receives the wounds of Christ on this day, on this feast for the Franciscan worldwide community. And I always think of that play because I performed it for about 26 years. Eventually, I was young and good looking, and then eventually I had to wear wigs and makeup and look as young as I could. It's hard to stay 33 all the time, so to speak, in Jesus' name. But the thing is, there's a line in there, the visions, St. Francis comes up, and the Pope, at that time Pope Innocent, sees a vision of St. Francis holding up the mother church of Christendom, St. John Lateran, on his shoulders. And what a vision that is. Now think of that. You need to cherish that. we need to carry on the legacy. One man at that time, St. Francis, helped to renew the face of the church. And that can happen again and again. And we need saints like him, we need saints like you to be able to carry on that legacy. And that vision is so important. I remember Dr. Carroll also, he helped me. I read, not that he helped me because he was gone, but I had to do St. John Vianney, and I had to wear a wig and the whole bit. And so I had to study the French Revolution, and his works I read also about the history so I'd understand it more fully, and other parts of history and all the research we had to do in order to do the play itself. So I'm very grateful to the legacy, the work that has been done here in the foundational parts of Christendom so that you can continue it. But what I wanted to say was, I, as a young man, thinking of all of you young people, I spent 9 months in Rome. We had 2 semesters back in my day. And so I spent a whole year in Rome, and I fell in love. I was wanting to be not an actor at that time. I wanted to be a visual artist, a sculptor. I wanted to be an artist. I loved the visual arts, and I fell in love, of course, with Michelangelo. And I'm thinking of his legacy. I bought a book, and I was a very poor little book. It was a tourist book. It's about the best I could buy as a student then. I had no money. And anyway, even though the faith was foggy to me at that time, and I had eventually come back with a mature faith, I was so attracted to him, and I look at all his vast works. What he did is incredible, and no one can, say he didn't do too much. He lived to be 89, I believe, and he went through so many generations. All the other artists are dying, and he's still going. But think of his, I think of his first painting, the Vision of St. Anthony. He did it as a teenager. It looks like it's greater work than any artist today. And then he went on to do, of course, I think of the, Pietà. I saw it before it was, hit with the hammer and all that. But, Pietà, the Moses, the David. If any of you, how many here have ever seen the David? Okay, we got a few students here, huh? But, he would look at a stone and say he can visualize what's in it, which is an incredible insight. He was a genius. And then, of course, he did Sistine Chapel. He was a painter, he was a drawer. And then, of course, he's so well known for the last decades of his life doing St. Peter's Basilica, which he designed knowing that he would never see the completion of our master church that we have as the symbol, in a sense, of all of Christendom under the tomb of St. Peter. So, but we forget so often that he was a writer. He did sonnets, he did writing, and that's what got me. There was a poem that really touched my heart as a young artist. Even I found it in the book as I was continuing this ministry as an actor. And, he lived in a time where, you have to understand the strain with the church. The church is going through a lot. He lived through basically 3 movements of the church in history. We have, he's in Christendom. Everyone's Catholic. Then he's living during the Reformation, and then he's living during the Counter-Reformation. So he's kind of going back and forth. He's making all these works. And in the Counter-Reformation, he's building St. Peter's Basilica. So he had strains with the church. He had to deal with all the things. There's lots of history there. But I love, there's that saying when he was dying, it said, somebody came up to his bed and said, "How will Rome ever get along without you, Michelangelo?" And he just points out the window and says, "Rome will never be without me," because it's all there, right? And that's the legacy of Christendom. Those are buildings. Those are great works of art. And he's just one artist among many, Fra Angelico and all the different artists, even today, who are trying to carry on that intense work of the legacy and the beauty and truth of the church. But some of the greatest works that he did that I loved, they're like the prisoners in stone, if you've ever seen them. They're like blocks of marble, and there are people trying to get out of it. Have you ever seen what's Star Wars? You got Rex? What, Harrison trying to get out, he's frozen on the wall, right? Well, he has all these beautiful images trying to come out. He never finished them because he was working all the time. But I find that's kind of like an image of who we are. God is still working on us as the master sculptor. He's working on each and every one of you, especially you young people, as he's forming you as you go forward. So, but all of that great work, I wanted to read to you on as he was ending his life in his 80s, he wrote this sonnet. Now hath my life across a stormy sea, like a frail bark, reached that wide port where all are bidden, ere the final reckoning fall of good and evil for eternity. Now know I well how that fond fantasy, which made my soul the worshiper and thrall of earthly art, is vain. How criminal is that which all men seek unwillingly, those amorous thoughts which were so lightly dressed. What are they when the double death is nigh? The one I know for sure, the other dread. Painting nor sculpture now can lull to rest my soul that turns to his great love on high, whose arms to clasp us on the cross were spread. And another translation sometimes says, all that I did, I'm paraphrasing, was like straw compared to him who stretched his arms out on the cross for me. So all the great things we do, I mention this because even here at Christendom, it's a challenge. Everything good thing that we do is done by God through us. We're just instruments. And as Maximilian Kolbe would say, we're useless instruments. Aren't instruments supposed to be useful? Right? I did this. I did that. And Michelangelo did the same thing. I did the Sistine Chapel. Right? I did the David. You can't do it. But the thing is that we have to always be careful of our pride in the Christianity, in Christendom. And so my last thoughts are just this. Dare to be great. What is greatness? It's Christ. So you can take, when you hear that name, your motto, dare to be great, which is we want you to do the best. We want you to create beauty and truth in your entire life, whatever you do. But dare to be Christ. Do not be afraid to be him. Because I love St. Benedict when he says, the church is not an institution. It is a person. It's Christ. So God bless you and thank you for this award.